Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Tropic Trade Group, and this is your end of day market recap for Thursday, the 3rd. Well, where to start for today? I mean, such interesting price action in terms of what you're seeing like on the screen in terms of winners versus losers in terms of the dark green and the red. There's definitely some separation that's going on in the market. There's some stocks that are holding up very well. There are other stocks and groups that are beginning to break down, and you've got some stocks, starting to kind of move out of some consolidation and now become stronger than they were. It's I think even in this year. So you've got some areas that are gaining strength. You've got some areas that are really hanging in there, and you've got more areas that are beginning to break down. So that's kind of a lot, and it's kind of confusing. And I think when you look at the overall performance of the indices today, and for example, like looking at the Qs, essentially flat, right? It's you kind of look at that and you're like, oh, today was kind of a boring day. But I think there's a lot of movers that are going on. Um, when you look underneath the hood, you could see a lot of things going on. But even when you look at these indices and what bonds are doing as well, I mean, there's no doubt, that's why it's, for regular market participants that are doing this on a day-to-day basis. There's a reason that we're doing this on a day-to-day basis. It's never dull. There's always something very intriguing or interesting going on, especially and you look and you have the VIX up 8% today, right? And you would think, oh my God, like the market should be down like 1-2% when you have volatility rise like that. And again, it's kind of being hidden, I think, a bit when you look at what the overall indices are doing, because there are more stocks that are breaking down than up. I'm going to get to all of that. I'll try to get through it very quickly. So it's a quick video for you. But no promises. Risk disclaimer in front of you. Everything that we're going through is for information purposes, only, not giving out any advice or recommendations. Please read the full risk disclaimer right there. So let me talk a little bit about that for a second. Let's talk about market breadth, right? And when you look at the market breadth for today, right? And I tend to take one step back here. But when you look at I generally look at the new 4 week highs versus lows, because it's kind of on my time frame. I'm a swing trader. Some of the trades that I hold could be a couple days to a couple weeks. Sometimes if a trade's really working in my trading account, I'll keep it on for months, right? It depends on how the trade is going and how much I like the position. But I am on the smaller time frame because a lot of positions I get into and I get out of if the price isn't confirming what I want to see. So I do like to look at the 4 week new highs versus new lows, because it gives me a sense of momentum. But you can see there was more new lows today. So, again, you kind of have to take this a little bit with a grain of salt. One day is not a trend, but we've been starting to see these new lows start to pick up again. So again, this is not updated for today. There's a 1 day lag with this. So today's market activity will come up tomorrow because of the lag. But clearly we've been seeing this now for a while, where the new highs are declining here. And again, like I said, when you break this apart and you look at the individual names, there's 58 names that had a new low today, and only 46 that had a new high today. Now, what I do, if you're familiar with my Substack, I show this every day for free. So, just make sure you're signed up. It's ttgtrading.substack.com. Of course, there is a paywall on this, because you're also able to see all of my positions every day. In my midday note, I give you every position that if I've taken 2 new positions, you'll see the chart and the setup and what I'm looking at in terms of getting into those positions. But if you just want this for free, you could at least see, which I think is very valuable, what's going on, because look at the areas that made new. And so what I do is I take that list, and all I'm doing is this, I'm sorting it by sector, right? Very simple, but it gives you some good information, right? It's telling you that energy, right, is starting to kind of expand. And I mentioned in the beginning of this video that there's an area that is beginning to move higher. Now, could be just because of geopolitical issues, but you have to ask yourself, are those geopolitical issues going to go away like anytime soon, or is this going to continue to go on for a while? also, could it just be that everybody's been underpositioned in energy, and now it's kind of an area that maybe people want to gravitate a little bit towards, including myself, which I've done this week. So you've got some financials, still the industrials, which for the last couple of weeks have been basically showing the strongest breath, and then you've got the utilities, which mostly are like the power type companies that are moving based on AI and nuclear and all of that theme going on. What's interesting, even though, and this is the one silver lining with this, take a look at the groups that are showed 4 week new lows. Probably you're not going to get too discouraged by this because it's consumer staples, it's healthcare, it's like names like Moderna, and what else is in here? A couple other areas. There are some medical device companies in there too. But healthcare has lost that momentum. It's lost that love and feeling now for a good couple of weeks. And then also REITs. So when we look at a couple of these charts, so again, all I'm doing, by the way, is just giving you an overall feel, right, for what's going on, right? So here's healthcare, right? This is breaking down, right? We had some good strength a couple times this year in healthcare, but look at the move below the 50-day moving average. Right, does not look very good. Here's your double top in healthcare. Here's your non-confirmation with the RSI getting weaker. What about REITs? For a while everybody was jumping up and down. Again, you have to be careful about how you classify things. In my opinion, home builders, right, or when they say real estate, well, real estate could be a couple different things. Home builders is ITB and XHB. REITs are IYR, and it's called the real estate ETF. But I don't know, how do you define real estate? Well, that's a whole nother topic that I don't want to get into this video. But just be careful about how just because you see real estate, don't think it's home builders. In this case, it's not. It's the REITs. So they've been coming down pretty decently. What about the consumer staples? Right, consumer staples. Look, that's a Head and Shoulders top, and that has been breaking below the neckline. Now it's been coming down to the 50 now down to the 50-day moving average. This is fine with me. I haven't really been positioned in consumer staples or in REITs for that matter. And healthcare, I've been in and out of, but I've reduced my exposure to healthcare significantly. And that's the adjustments that you want to be making if you're holding more of a portfolio, which I do that at Tribeca Trade Group. I hold the TTG trend portfolio, which basically acts as an ETF for me. It's got close to 50 names in it, and I change the sector allocations as I see things like this take place. All right, so that's what's going on. So that's kind of the downers, right? And again, I would say that the downers are happening more in some of these some of the defensive areas. And I have a sector relative strength weakness sector watch. This is more for shorter term momentum, but you could see healthcare weak, right? Staples weak, biotech weak. Retail's also in there too as weak. That's the XRT ETF. And banks, believe it or not, are now the KBE is now below all these short-term moving averages as well. So first of all, the thing that I notice here is that for a couple weeks we were seeing like breadth expansion and a lot of things that were basically all green here except for a couple. Now you've only got a couple select areas. And you could see that it's not really it is your energy now. It's not tech either. Now there's parts of tech, semis did pretty well today, but they're still below, I think that's the 5-day moving average. And I'm not sure if that this spreadsheet is completely adjusting for everything. We could look at the SMH ETF. Maybe it is above the five. Maybe it did it get above the 5 period? No, I guess it closed right around the 5-day moving average. That's probably why you don't see it. So it's close, right? So, which kind of brings us to this next topic is the semis had a great day today, and you could see that's not bad. It's now back above the October value area, and you can basically say, hey, you can get long versus 242, right? And that's only, and MarketWebs are nice here because they tell you the percent. Use a stop of 1%. Now, if you go through within the group, of course, NVIDIA had a real nice day today on the back of Jensen's comments on CNBC yesterday. I was actually doing the filming of the video yesterday when he was making those comments. I would watch that VPOC up there at 126.59. That could be a very short-term target for you. if you're long, because I see people posting NVIDIA all over the place whenever NVIDIA moves. There's also just a ton of option activity in this name. It's really been quite remarkable. I like some of the names that people don't, that everybody is looking at. I think Taiwan Semi had a really nice day today, and I got long this name versus 175.35. I think I talked about this in yesterday's video. If I didn't, I apologize. But also COHR is another name. Really, nice to see this, right? Nice to see a name break higher. Right. And then it's just basically select areas of the market. So we go back to this for a second. Of course, let's go through the energy charts and then we'll talk about a couple individual names. Right. But XLE, and I think what really looks attractive about the XLE is when you look at the weekly chart, right? If you kind of zoom out a little bit and say, hey, this is just maybe just starting to make a move here. And if you're still kind of like if you're on the fence about this, going long energy stocks, use a stop of 90.36, right? That is the significant area that I am watching, right? And by the way, we have one more day left of the week. Tomorrow's the jobs report, so things could shift around a little bit. But that's how you can kind of look at it. We talked about this. We did a webinar on Tuesday night, and we were talking about specifically about indicators. Now, of course, the one that I use is the MarketWebs, and it gives me significant support and resistance, but it's not predictive. All it is basically telling, we don't know where price is going to go. We just want to set rules and parameters around, and I call it a roadmap, right, of where I want to be long. I want to be long in significant areas, right? But if sellers, we can't confirm if some event happens tomorrow and sellers come in and push this back below, but it gives me a sense of where I'm going to take my trade off of. And that would be below 90.36, right? And I've been talking about Exxon. I really like the weekly chart here. Notice it's showing relative strength. Look at that. It's testing, all-time highs. And it happens very quick, right? When this market makes up its mind and wants to do something, it doesn't wait for anybody. It just goes, right? But overall, it's not that far down. And I really think when you look at the previous leg up, previously trend sideways for about a year and a half, and now starting to move back up. And I think out to maybe, daylight ahead. Right. So that's Exxon. Another name that I talked about too in the energy space is TRGP. Right. This is a name I also got long yesterday, right? And there's a bunch of different names. I think the refiners are starting to look interesting too. I used to trade this all the time back when energy stocks were really moving, but PSX had a really good day. This is Phillips 66, right? These are refiners. Now, this also has the implications probably of this strike that's going on too. Maybe they're going to move a bit on that as well. So you kind of have two things going on. So in my opinion, for now, I'm trying the longs in energy stocks, and we'll see where it takes us. Again, have to be defined in what you're doing, right? Outside of that, right, there's a number of other areas well, let's go back to the spreadsheet just as to kind of look. But of course, those energy names up here, interesting. China gap down, but still resilient. Climbed 1.9, almost 2%. So we talked about semis. Software actually did well too. It was positive, and you could kind of look in different software names. I'm watching for tomorrow. I'm watching Zeta, Catherine Zeta-Jones. That's not the name of the company. That's just me making a bad joke. Notice how it did get above the value area, so that's something to watch. Obviously, everybody's watching this Palantir at this point. I think we talked about Palantir in yesterday's video. We talked about how it was a nice bullish engulfing candle. Look at the extension today, up 4.7%. And I think it really looks great. The power companies, of course, CEG. I have not been in the right one here, so my bad for this. So we were talking about how it's best to kind of stay with the best name in a group rather than look for other things, right? Look at how well this VST is moving, right? Versus, I'm in NEE. Now, I was able to take a target in this thing, but it clearly is not moving the same way and actually finished down on the day. I'm still in the name, but it was nice. It's nice to be selling into strength. I think that's also very important in this market, right? You're not being that breadth is declining. you're not getting a lot of names to show follow through. And if you can find a couple of those names, and that's what we try to do in the trading room every single day, then it's great when you are finding those few that are moving to the upside pretty nicely, and they are out there, right? I mean, here's one, for example. I don't hear anybody talk about this name. We talk about it in the trading room from time to time. I have it in the TTG trend portfolio, and of course now I'm jinxing it because sometimes when I mention these things in the end of day video, that probably means that it's due to correct, but it is to correct, right? Look at the name, look at the move it's made, right? Since the beginning of or the middle of September, stock was at 94. It's at 106, and it's been basically just ramping to the on a 45-degree angle up and to the right. But how many people talk about Parsons Corporation, right? It's been a really nice performer. So, there are these names out there, and of course we are seeing a lot of names that are kind of checking back to their 20-day moving average. Zillow's one name I've got an eye on, into the 20-day moving average, right? These are things that we want to watch for a possible bounce. I've talked about for a couple days, and you got to have patience with this stuff. But Blackstone, I like this group in the financials. I also like what the exchange stocks are doing. We mentioned it was mentioned in the trading room today how well ICE is doing. ICE actually broke through its value area, and this is not extended, right? This is like the first nice candle, and maybe out to a break. Again, look at the move that this stock has been making. So, again, I go where there's momentum, where the market likes to go, not where I want the market to go. But I think for now this market is holding in there, even with all this geopolitical stuff. And you have to remember too. So all I'm saying is like, I think the main message of this video is be patient here. When we look at what the S&P is doing, yes, I don't like that it's below its 5-period moving average. I don't like how it's really choppy throughout the day, and you're not really seeing much follow through. And that means, of course, that you really have to be picky with where you're starting positions, right? If you're doing anything and you're buying a stock that's up 1 or 2% in the day, if you buy it with a full position size, a lot of the times you're regretting that because we're seeing so many times where a stock will just come, won't follow through, right? So, it's important to be picky about where you're establishing your positions. And if you feel like you need to get involved in a name that you think is making a greater move, do it with a partial position, right? And I think that's the best way for me anyway, where I see how to navigate this market, because again, it's just the market dynamics, right? It's just how many names are going up versus going down. And if you start to kind of look, so by the way, I just want to show this Qs chart too here. But again, it's kind of, we're stuck in the middle, right? We're stuck in the middle below the 5-period moving average and above the 20-day moving average. So it's stuck in the middle of these two moving averages. And notice how it's also stuck right at the top of the value area. And in between, right? So, this is not a lot. Something is going to break here, right? And I don't know, maybe it's tomorrow's jobs report, but look at how price has been dancing between this bottom of the value area for the week, right? Which is 483.45 is your resistance, and your top of value for the month, right? This can't stay like this forever. And it's going to break one way or another, but there's just not enough conviction. There's not enough buyers to push this back into its value area for the week, but you're also not seeing a breakdown either. And I would be mindful if we do break, right? I would potentially just go with it. And I'm not opposed to buying puts here and looking for a move down to this lower VPOC down here about 1.6% away. But for now, it's the indices are going sideways, and I think that you really have to be on your toes here with what kind of positions you're holding and where your out could potentially be if the market begins to break down. Again, I don't have the answers. I'm just going through this, and I'll tell you something that most people won't on Twitter because they're biased for whatever reason. But we've seen a lot of put activity in the indices. Just 2 days ago, we saw some big put buying in the Qs, right? But you're also seeing upside call buying in some things too. So somebody's going to be right, somebody's going to be wrong. And we're seeing a lot more two-way flow than what we saw, I think, a couple weeks ago. So again, there'll be something for people. If the market goes up, there'll be something for people to say, aha, we saw this option activity. If the market goes down, you're going to see the same people go, aha, we saw we saw puts trade. So I would just tend to wait for the signal, right, and go from there. A couple other things I was just going to show. We talked about this, the sectors. Palantir on the watch list, YRD, but very little other names. Carvana actually is doing okay. And then I just wanted to show, of course, what the Great Eight did today, which is kind of a mix. Meta did okay today, but there's a lot of other, take a look at what Microsoft is doing, right? And again, it is down to some support down here. And I don't know, maybe that's a buying opportunity down here for a scalp. Now, again, like I'm not sure I would say, when you think about buying opportunity, where are you going to get out? Maybe if it bounces up to the 20-day moving average, right, from here, but you do have some support. There's also a VPOC down here too, so I would potentially wait to see if it holds on to the bottom of the value area. But you know, um, it, it's hanging, we'll see if it hangs on to that bottom of value and begins to bounce. Yeah, I mean, Meta had a good day today, but this is not easy too because the stock hasn't really gone anywhere in a week, right? I love how it does look like, oh, great green bar, right? But look at it from a couple days ago. Yes, it closed at the highs, so it is higher than these bars, but you're talking about a couple bucks, right? You can't really live on that as a trader. So in any event, not bad in strength. Like if you're holding long term in Meta, great, it's working for you. But I think from a trading perspective, a little bit difficult. It is holding above the 5-period moving average. I say ride it out while it's doing this, and it's definitely showing that relative strength within the Mag 7, or as I call them, Great Eight names. I'll leave it there, guys. I think that's enough for today's video. Again, very intriguing type of day. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow. Don't forget jobs report tomorrow.